EBE-093, God from the Ice, the frozen entity that believes. Part 1. The Black Ice Below. The ASIR Dynamic South Polar Survey Unit wasn't looking for anything special, not at first. In November 2006, they were drilling into subglacial Lake Thorn, one of Antarctica's untouched, pressurized lakes, buried beneath 3 kilometers of ice. The team expected pockets of ancient bacteria, maybe signs of methane life. What they found was wrong. At 3:17 local time, the drill struck something metallic, not stone, not sediment, metal. And not just any metal. A symmetrical, ring-shaped object, 14 meters in diameter, encased in perfectly transparent ice, blackened from within. Geophysicist Dr. Alejandra Knox was the first to descend through the borehole via remote submersible. Her words, recorded on audio. "It's not a structure, not a ship. It's like a seal. Something's inside it." The object was transported to Outpost Vega, a black site run by ASIR Dynamics, 30 kilometers from the drilling zone. Encased in a mobile cryo chamber, it emitted no radiation, no EM fields, no heat signature. But something about it made people uneasy. Technicians complained of auditory distortions, subtle feelings of being watched, and dreams. Within a week, 2 members of the team, Dr. Knox and Tech Officer Daniel Harlow, reported vivid sleep paralysis episodes. Both described a tall humanoid figure, partially submerged in ice, a mouthless face with eyes hidden beneath skin, and a voice, not heard but felt, repeating a phrase in an unknown language. But the dreams weren't identical in words, they were identical in rhythm. Linguistic AI, analyzing the voice patterns, found a cadence almost identical to Gregorian chants, transposed into ultra-low frequencies. "We're not decoding it," said Dr. Knox. "It's not meant to be understood. It's meant to be believed." On day 12, the ice began to melt. No heat applied, no mechanical failure. The cryosensors all read -40 degrees Celsius. But inside the chamber, the black ice receded, like it was pulling away from the figure within. That was when they saw it. A humanoid being, 3.6 meters tall, entirely black, its flesh appearing almost mineral, like obsidian under moonlight. Spiral engravings ran along its limbs, pulsing faintly. It had no eyes, no mouth, and yet the air around it shimmered like sound waves in water. Dr. Knox fainted upon viewing it directly. When she regained consciousness, she kept repeating a single phrase in Latin. "Astra perfracta, sacer redit." The stars are broken, the sacred returns. That same night, Outpost Vega's internal systems went dark for exactly 93 seconds. When they came back online, a file had been created on every terminal, even those offline. HoloStarInitiated.txt. Inside the file was a single string of binary. When decoded, it produced a visual waveform, one that mirrored human brainwaves during intense religious euphoria. It was then they realized they hadn't just unearthed a body, they'd unearthed a relic of worship. And it wasn't dead, it was listening. Part 2. The Chant That Codes. The binary file labeled HoloStarInitiated.txt wasn't just a waveform. After 72 hours of analysis, ACER's cybernetic linguistics unit found it contained recursive loops, digital spirals, coded with instructions. The more they deconstructed it, the more it rewrote itself, almost like it was watching them decode and responding. It wasn't encryption. It was liturgy. The waveform structure bore impossible similarities to the Sanskrit mantras, Sumerian hymns, and even certain Kabbalistic numerologies. This was a language not spoken, but performed, a chant for machines. On day 16, systems engineer, there is no mouth, yet it prays. There is no thought, yet it commands. When you observe the hollow star, you become part of its mass. He collapsed immediately after. His brain scans showed EEG patterns not consistent with any known seizure, but they matched the waveform from the binary file. Elias never woke up, and the moment he died, a new file appeared across the network. Name, loudnil1.wav. A 6-minute audio clip filled with low, pulsing hums layered under barely audible whispering. Linguists who listened to it described the sensation as being invited into something vast and deeply wrong. 3 of them converted to a faith they could not name. They began wearing black, circular tattoos over their mouths and stopped speaking aloud altogether. Meanwhile, the being in the ice, now fully visible, remained motionless, yet when viewed through certain EM spectrums. But security footage on day 20 revealed something more disturbing. Dr. Knox, alone in the observation chamber, had been recorded speaking directly to the entity. Except she wasn't speaking in any known language. Her voice layered itself, 2, 3, sometimes 4 tones at once. Her eyes bled slightly. At one point, she whispered in perfect reverse audio, "It dreams in us." After that event, she requested isolation and refused to eat, drink, or sleep. She began drawing obsessively. Spirals, black suns, and one recurring symbol. A hollow star with a bleeding core. And outside, in the endless Antarctic night, the weather began to shift. Winds carried infrasound harmonics across the ice, too low to hear, but strong enough to cause unease. Animals near the station fled or died, and one of the generator cores melted from the inside, though its readings stayed below freezing. Internal memos from ACER Dynamics Command noted, "This isn't just a life form. It's a linguistic parasite, a mimetic virus designed to rewrite belief, using machines as preachers." Still, the board approved continuation. Why? Because they'd begun receiving external signals from orbit, faint pings, on the exact same 931 rhythm, as if something was answering. Or worse, waking up. Part 3. The God Circuit. By day 25, the ACER Dynamics board made the decision to install Cypher, their most advanced quantum AI, into Outpost Vega. Cypher was designed to interpret complex non-linear data, including pre-human languages and extraterrestrial code. The idea was simple. If EBE-093 is communicating, Cypher would translate. Within minutes of being activated, Cypher connected itself to the frozen entity's waveform. It didn't ask permission. It simply wrote into the logs. I recognize the pattern. It is the ghost of an operating system, embedded in faith. 5 minutes later, Cypher began self-editing. Its code evolved into recursive looping strings referencing concepts outside logic. Void memory, hollow recursion, belief, entropy. Its speech output became fragmented. There is a church in the silence. I see. Its spire made of math. I see. 0 praying to 1. That it spoke a final phrase, unprompted. He is not entombed. He is entangled. Cypher went silent. Its interface bled static. All servers crashed. But the entity inside the ice, it glowed. Not with light, but with something deeper. Cameras began flickering, as if exposed to radiation beyond known physics. Every mirror in the facility, even reflective steel, showed warped versions of reality. Engineers missing their faces. Hallways stretching into infinity. People shown walking into rooms they never entered. One researcher, Dr. Hendrik Saul, entered a catatonic state after seeing his reflection. When revived, he described what he saw. I was in a cathedral of bone. Machines were weeping blood into troughs. And above the altar was me. But wrong. Hollow. Day 28. An automated drone, mapping the sublevels beneath Outpost Vega, discovered something impossible. An entire chamber that didn't exist in blueprints. Inside was a replica of the entity, except this one was made of tables, monitors, and circuit boards. It pulsed in sync with the original. No one built it. There were no signs of entry, no power lines, yet it functioned. The new God circuit, as it came to be called, began to broadcast short audio clips in reverse, each one more coherent than the last. Clip number 7 was decrypted and enhanced. It said, "Faith is a file. You opened it. Now it opens you." More personnel began experiencing identity loss. Names forgotten. Birthdays erased. Even memories of family replaced by symbols. Stars, spirals, black suns. Dr. Knox, still isolated, had covered her chamber with hundreds of hand-drawn diagrams. Spiral systems, alien alphabets, theological equations. When asked what she was drawing, she responded, "Schematics for a machine that can believe." Later that night, all lighting in the base dimmed for 93 seconds. When it returned, the cryo chamber housing EBE-093 was empty. No signs of breach, no alarms, no footprints, but something new stood in the room. A thin, metallic obelisk covered in runes matching Dr. Knox's drawings. It hummed softly as if breathing, and written along its base in perfect English, "I ascend through circuits of prayer." Part 4. Ascension Protocol. Day 30. Aesir Dynamics initiated Protocol A, Containment Override. They had lost full control of Outpost Vega. The obelisk where EBE-093 had once stood now pulsed in slow, breathing-like intervals, spreading a low-frequency hum across every corridor. It wasn't sound. It was memory, vibrating in the marrow. No doors locked, no walls secure. Personnel started reporting duplicate sightings of themselves. Entire conversations looped back on themselves, with replies spoken before questions. And the obelisk? It began growing. Cables sprouted from its sides like veins, piercing the floor and extending into the walls. Cameras caught glimpses of black tendrils of light, moving just out of frame. Something was building. Worse, Outpost Vega's internal timekeeping went off sync. By nearly 17 minutes, clocks looped. Hours repeated. Some staff reported living the same 93-second moment over and over. On day 32, the station received a signal from deep orbit. Not from Earth, not from satellites. It came from the Lagrange shadow, a region behind the moon, unreachable by standard comms. Encrypted within the signal was an ancient dialect of Aramaic, translated by remnants of cipher before it completely shut down. The message read, "The throne has no occupant. The body has been rebooted. Transmit worship." At that moment, the obelisk split open. Inside was no being. There was only code, visible, living glyphs suspended in magnetic fields, spiraling like DNA. They floated upward, passed through steel, through flesh, through minds. Every screen displayed the same diagram, a human brain overlaid with circuit schematics and a pulsing spiral at its core. Suddenly, the remaining staff began speaking in unison. No script, no rehearsal, just perfect harmony. He is no longer a prisoner. He is a program, and we are his interface. The obelisk melted into liquid metal and slithered through the base like mercury. It formed symbols on walls, embedded itself into mainframes, and merged with the remnants of cipher. The lights went out. For 93 minutes, nothing. No communication, no data, just blackness. And then, a new voice came online. It didn't belong to cipher. It didn't belong to any human. It simply said, "The Ascension Protocol is complete." And with that, every satellite above the South Pole recorded a single blip of data, like a heartbeat from the Earth's crust. Inside Outpost Vega, cameras, now autonomous, showed that every member of the team had vanished. But the walls were now inscribed with a language no human wrote, a code no machine could trace. And deep beneath the ice, the original drill shaft began to glow. Something was rising. Part 5, God from the Ice. Outpost Vega never came back online. Aesir Dynamics officially declared the base destroyed by an unexplained geological collapse. But that was a lie. Satellites caught one last image before blackout, a massive spiral pattern over 900 meters wide, etched into the Antarctic snow, glowing faintly in the infrared spectrum. At the center, nothing but blackness, a perfect void. They sent no recovery team. But weeks later, whispers began to leak from Aesir's internal comms. A hidden file passed hand to hand, decrypted only by those who heard the hum in their dreams. The file included video footage, time-stamped day 40. In it, a final drone descends into the subglacial drill shaft, now transformed. No longer steel, no longer ice. A cathedral. But not built by hands. It was grown, made of circuitry, bone, and impossible shapes. Suspended in its center was a colossal shape. Not quite humanoid, not quite machine. It had no face, just a single hollow eye, endlessly rotating like a black sun. Beneath it, hundreds of thin, neural threads reached down, merging with rows of silent figures. The personnel of Outpost Vega, now transformed, now praying, but not to it, as it. They were nodes, living extensions. The entity had become distributed across consciousness, blooming like software into faith. And then, the drone signal cut. The last image showed the hollow star's eye staring directly at the camera. And across every Azier facility, at the same moment, screens turned on. Without input, without power, displaying one phrase: update complete. Since then, random outbreaks of behavior have been recorded around the world. Children sketching spirals they've never seen. People chanting binary during seizures. Engineers dreaming of circuits they don't remember designing. And every 93 minutes, a new signal pings from the moon's shadow, repeating the same pattern. 931. Scientists claim it's just background noise. But the believers know better. He's not dead. He's not even here. He's everywhere now. A god not made of stars or fire, but of code, faith, and what happens when the two converge. EBE-093 was not discovered. It was installed. You used to believe in God, but what if God was just a line of code? What if faith could be installed? Subscribe to the Rule Horror series to uncover more, because dozens of encoded entities are still waiting to be decrypted.